Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're making peach cobbler, a dessert that screams summertime in my opinion. It is seriously easy and certainly delicious, and we're going to begin with 2 cups of self-rising flour. Now if you're like me, self-rising flour usually isn't something that I keep on hand because I don't really use it that much, but it's something that can easily be made if you have all-purpose flour. Basically, for each cup of all-purpose flour, to make a cup of self-rising flour, you'll need to add a half a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon and a half of baking powder. So for this recipe, because we need 2 cups of self-rising flour, I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon or 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I also want to add here that I'm doubling this recipe today. It can easily be cut in half. Once you have all your ingredients combined, I give them a little bit of a stir to make sure everything's kind of incorporated, and then we can proceed with our cobbler recipe. And if you're unfamiliar with cobbler, it starts by making a batter which we'll pour into a buttered pan, and then we'll layer our fruit on top of that, and it will all bake up beautifully together. To make the batter for our cobbler, we've started with our 2 cups of self-rising flour. To that we're going to add 2 cups of sugar and a cup and a half of milk. And the last ingredient for our batter is salt, and we will add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. After this, we're going to give everything a good stir to make sure it's combined. Had a little bit of a camera malfunction in here, so we're going to have a weird cut. But basically, I started to stir and then my camera died on me. But we're going to give it a little bit of a stir and make sure everything is combined. You probably will have some lumps in there, and that's perfectly okay. Just try to get as many lumps out as what you can. And if you're someone who doesn't like peaches, you can easily substitute blueberries or blackberries or apples. I would recommend cooking your apples a little bit before you layer them on top of your batter. But this is delicious for all of those. You can probably come up with some other fruit that would be delicious in there as well. Now once our batter is finished, we're going to take a sprayed pan. This pan that I have is bigger than a 9 by 13. I'm not sure of the exact measurements. And like I said, if you want to do a 9 by 13, you may want to cut this recipe in half. We have a stick and a half of melted butter that we're going to pour in, and I would stick with this even if you're going to do a 9 by 13, because that's actually the recipe that I have. I just didn't think we needed 3 sticks of melted butter in this pan. So a stick and a half is my recommendation for bigger pan or 9 by 13. From there, we're going to pour our batter over the butter. And this, we have to really fight the temptation to try and incorporate things. We're just going to layer things in here. We're not going to stir them once we get them in the pan. They'll all come together beautifully in the oven. You just have to trust the process on this. Once we get our batter in the pan, then we're going to take our peaches. And the peaches, I actually used 3 cans. They were 29-ounce cans of peaches in their juice. It was 100% juice. I separated the juice out because we're actually going to use probably about a cup of the juice once we get the peaches in here. And you can use peaches in heavy syrup if you want. Again, just reserve about a cup of the liquid. But I find that the 100% juice really gives it a nice peachy flavor. Once we lay our peaches in there, then like I said, we're going to pour about a cup of the remaining juice over the top. Definitely not going to use all of this, but that really reinforces things and gives it a nice peachy flavor. Now the last part is optional. You can do this if you'd like. You don't have to, but I really like the flavor of it. You can give it a light dusting of nutmeg and cinnamon. If you don't like nutmeg, leave it out. Just dust it with cinnamon or vice versa. But it does add a nice little layer. I wouldn't go too heavy with it, but just a very light dusting of both really gives it a nice touch. Once we've added our cinnamon and nutmeg, we're going to go into a 350-degree oven, and it's going to bake for about an hour. You want to look for the top to be nice and golden brown, and then you'll know it's ready. Once you take your cobbler out of the oven, I would let it sit for maybe 10 or 15 minutes before you serve it. This is a dish you definitely want to serve warm, and it's delicious by itself. You can even kick it up a notch by adding a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It really doesn't get much better than that. So I hope that you give this one a try. I know you won't be disappointed. There's absolutely no better way to finish off a summertime barbecue or picnic than with a scoop of peach cobbler. And as always, I appreciate all of you guys watching and commenting and sharing and liking. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.